what you are eating could be contributing to how fast your brain is actually aging, to cognitive decline. Now, if you're experiencing brain fog, if you're not able to remember typical words that you would use day to day, if you're having trouble remembering directions, people, places, names, that is cognitive decline. If you're having trouble at work, that's cognitive decline. And so understanding that this is happening and it's not a normal part of aging is really, really important. And nutrition plays a large role because the brain is highly sensitive to inflammation, blood sugar fluctuations, blood pressure, all of which is controlled mostly by the food you're putting in your body and exercise. But this video is all about the foods you should be avoiding and the foods you should be eating to optimize your brain health and avoid this cognitive decline that you may have watched your parents or somebody that you know go through, which ultimately leads to Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and other neurodegenerative conditions. So the foods you should avoid, the top foods, there are a few different big categories that you should be avoiding. The first big one being processed sugar, which everybody tells you should be avoiding sugar anyway, but talking about it from a brain health perspective, it is really, really important because your brain loves glucose. It loves that sugar. It pulls the glucose in for energy. And processed sugar is linked heavily, obviously, to insulin resistance. And a lot of times, recently, Alzheimer's has been called type 3 diabetes or diabetes of the brain. It gives you an increased risk. It causes inflammation, oxidative stress in your body. So if you're eating a bunch of sugar and you're not getting enough antioxidants, it's one of the foods you should be eating. So any fruits, berries, things like that, walnuts are a great option. If you're not balancing those things out, or if you're just over consuming processed sugar, that is going to cause oxidative stress in your brain cells, which eventually will cause them to deteriorate. This leads to brain fog, memory problems, mood swings. And if you're eating a lot of processed sugar and you cut it out, you'll probably notice a lot less of these things right away. Next big food to avoid is going to be trans fat. Now, a lot of companies have zero trans fat in their foods, a lot of ultra processed foods, but the FDA allows up to like 0.4 grams of trans fat. They allow people to round down on the nutrition facts. So a lot of the ultra processed foods you're eating still have that trans fat in there. A lot of trans fat is found in fake butter. So like margarine is a really good example of what has a lot of trans fat, which is like the big thing in the early 2000s. A lot of fried foods, because you don't really know what those fried foods are fried in unless you're frying them yourselves. So a lot of fast food being a big one. And like I said, any of those ultra processed snacks that have gone through multiple rounds of being created. And I'm not saying you can't have any of those. I have these things every once in a while, but these are the foods that lead to brain and cognitive issues if you're over consuming them. A lot of the trans fat has been linked to reduced brain volume, actually, worse memory in studies, and again, faster cognitive decline. And a lot of times you'll see in the brain scans that are done on patients that have Alzheimer's dementia that have had more trans fat and they know that that's in their diet, they've seen impaired blood flow to the brain, which is a big issue. One of the types of dementia is actually vascular dementia, meaning the brain is just not getting the blood flow it needs to function well. And one of the big building blocks in my program is that blood flow process. How do we get more blood flow? And by not having trans fats in your diet, that is a good, easy start because trans fats aren't good for anything. The third thing being exactly what we just talked about with the processed sugar and the trans fats, ultra processed foods. Now, again, I'm not trying to demonize all ultra processed foods. I have some every once in a while. I'm not perfect, just like nobody else is perfect unless you have the time and energy to be. These are high in preservatives, artificial additives, artificial flavors, super refined carbs, enriched wheat flours, all of these of which show to have a decline in your mental clarity. They disrupt gut bacteria, and that gut-brain barrier is super, super strong. It's very important that you take care of your gut, and these ultra-processed foods hurt your gut. And your gut actually impacts mood because you have serotonin released in your gut. It impacts memory, and it impacts that mental clarity that I talked about, all of which, if you have less of over time, it's like if you put a muffle on your brain, it's not going to be able to function as well as it typically would be, and so the deterioration actually happens a little bit faster. These ultra-processed foods are also in studies associated with a higher risk of depression and anxiety, which leads to faster cognitive decline. The last thing, number 4, and I have a lot of problems with this as well. Everybody has something to work on, right? Is artificial sweeteners. So sucralose, aspartame, erythritol. All of these aren't nearly as bad for you as sugar, but they still, in some studies, suggest that they may negatively impact memory and cognitive decline. And the artificial sweeteners are shown in studies to impact the gut health for that gut-brain barrier, getting rid of some of the good gut bacteria that you might have in there. And that plays a big role in neurotransmitter production for your brain. So you want to try and avoid those as much as possible, but again, they aren't nearly as bad as ultra-processed sugars and things. So if you're trying to go one direction or the other and you're like, you know what, I really need a soda today, opt for the diet option because it is going to still be better. But what should you actually eat instead of these foods? Obviously, a whole food diet is really, really good, but in a whole food diet, you can still be lacking essential nutrients to fight off oxidative stress. You can still be lacking essential nutrients to actually pump the vitamins and minerals you need into your brain from your gut. So what should you be eating for a sharper mind to slow cognitive decline or have a normal rate of cognitive decline? The biggest thing that I tell people to start with is healthy fats, because we intake, as an American society, so many unhealthy fats. So olive oil, avocado, walnuts, fatty fish, all of these are going to be really high in omega-3 fatty acids and lower in omega-6 fatty acids, which you'll typically find in the really, really high saturated fat or seed oils and things like that you don't typically want, but you still want those really, really good omega-3s. These are going to help with the oxidative stress. It's going to help with the neuroplasticity, and it's going to help with inflammation. So omega-3 is a big one. So get those healthy fats in. Antioxidants, which I mentioned earlier, are also very, very important for managing oxidative stress, and you're going to get a lot of the really good vitamins that you need from these antioxidants. So berries, dark leafy greens, turmeric, herbs and spices will give you the antioxidants that you really, really need. Walnuts are a great option for healthy fats and antioxidants. So nuts are a really good source as well. Protein and essential nutrients, which we talk a lot about protein for fat loss, because you need protein to build muscle, you need protein to help raise your thermic effect, lose fat, and get the toned look that you want. But protein is also super important for your brain as well. Every structural cell in your body is made up of protein. So if you're not getting enough, it's really hard for your body to recover and restore those cells and build them back. And so you need those amino acids in the protein sources to build back your cells. And then finally, your gut health is so important. I've mentioned it again and again. So fiber is actually going to be one of the bigger things that you can add to your diet, because the typical standard American diet is so short in fiber. Everybody that comes in on coaching, I have to build their fiber up from almost less than 10 grams to the minimum recommended being 20 to probably closer to 25 and 30 by the end of the program. It's so important for your probiotics to actually be able to latch onto that fiber in the prebiotics, break it down, and have a nice gut microbiome and have consistent bowel movements, because the fiber is really important for that as well. And finally, a bonus, hydration. Make sure you're getting enough water. If you have trouble getting in enough water, make sure you're getting in some electrolytes to help replenish your cells with the water that you are getting. And another bonus being a supplement, creatine. Creatine is really, really important for your body, and it shows in multiple studies it's the safest supplement you can possibly get. It'll help you build muscle, and it'll help neurotransmitters actually function well in your brain. So creatine would be a good option as well. Now, if you're struggling with cognitive decline, and that's why you're watching this video, I have a lot of other videos on what you should actually be doing to be as healthy as possible to cut through the noise. So if you want to click on my profile, go subscribe there, and then check out all my other videos on my channel. And if you want a free guide, I always have free guides in every single one of my videos. Go to the description and click on whatever free guide is in this video or the other videos on stress relief, on protein consumption, whatever you need, you can find it on my channel. So thank you guys for watching. Go check out my other videos, and I'll see you there.